Good afternoon, Karina. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. I was excited to talk to you a little bit about your experience. Now, as we chatted, the position you applied for online, I have filled that position.
Right.
However, I wanted to kind of pivot this call a little bit to, possibly in the future, maybe something internally here at Ronstadt. Your experience piqued my interest, and I feel like it could pique, my leader's interest as well. So let's talk a little bit about your. We're going to kind of go backwards.
Okay.
So, 2013, you worked for a company called Protocol Staffing, and you were an admin for them, and that was in New Jersey.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you tell me what you did there?
Okay. So my daily task there would be just having, clients come in, typically walk-ins. Sometimes we get emails or calls about staffing. I did industrial work, the onboarding process for industrial work, factory working. I'd have them come in, set them up on the computers, help them through their applications, push their applications through. Once they completed them, go over it, make sure everything was filled out correctly. We would add them to the system, get them on the schedule. We would do drug screening. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
Randstad does that, but we do drug screening, background checks. Um, and then we, make sure that we get them on the schedule once everything came back positive, and we would get them, into work. So at protocol, it was pretty much that, but I did, answer phones, put them in the system, like I said, for scheduling, file the proper necessary documents or paperwork that they needed in order to work. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did there.
Okay, great. And that was, you said, more on the manufacturing,
Yes.
logistics, okay, production
Yes.
type side. Okay. And then you moved from
Yeah.
New Jersey to here to the Daytona area.
Yes.
And when you moved here, you took a job with Epic
Yeah.
Staffing. Okay.
Epic. Yeah. Epic
So,
Personal Partners.
all right, great. And so you were doing similar work there?
Yeah, similar. I did have to do a little bit different there. Like I did have to forklift certify the workers, which that was new to me, but I learned, the OSHA program through there also. And I would have to conduct orientation. It was a little different. I do group orientations there. So
Hmm.
I would have to get each person scheduled for a group orientation, and then that would be given on one certain day that everybody would come back in, and then I would play the video, certify them on the forklift, the rules, procedures, what they had to wear, steel toe boots, all the requirements that they needed to have in order to be working. Same thing though, drug testing, background checks,
Hmm.
all along the same kind of lines, answering telephones, getting them scheduled, obtaining
So,
the proper documents.
so tell me a little bit about like KPIs. Did you have certain key performance indicators that you needed to follow?
For the most part, just any regulations that, especially with working in a factory, you do have a lot of regulations because if someone gets hurt on the job, that's like a big thing, like workers' comp and stuff. So we were really like, by the books,
Sure.
following the rules, making sure, like I said, with the boots, very important, proper wear gear while on the job as well. So we were trained in office to train the workers
Mhm.
that were coming in, which was my job since I was part of the staffing.
Okay, perfect. And then like, did you have certain things that you needed to complete each day, each week to meet like your metrics?
Yes. So we would have to do like a certain amount of like applicants, I guess you could say, like I said, we did group interviews, so I'd have to have a certain number of workers coming in order to schedule that interview. I believe it was 8. We would do 8 in a group, which wasn't too much, but not too little. That way everybody, could actually watch the video. We made them take tests and, make sure that they understood what they were learning.
Sure, absolutely. And then you took off a little bit of time for personal care to take care of your family, little
Yes.
ones.
Yes.
And now you are back into it and you're doing, you said some healthcare recruiting part-time.
Yes. So right now I'm in home health
Okay.
part-time. So kind of the same thing, a little bit different because now I'm dealing with HIPAA regulations, ACA regulations, Medicare regulations. So it's a little bit more nitpicky because any, mistake we could get cited for, especially being in home health and just getting clinicians onboarding is a little bit different because the documents they need are like medically necessary to even
Mhm.
work. So a little bit different, but again, staffing, onboarding, orientation, that's my part.
Okay, great. And then we talked a little bit about like what sales would look like. That some of our roles here we have recruiter positions, and we also have sales roles as well.
Right.
And what are your thoughts of like a sale, like the flip side of what you did when you were at Epic? So when you were at Epic, you were recruiting for the folks that were out selling the business. What
Right.
about doing that in the manufacturing and logistics realm? Is that something that might interest you?
Yes. Like I told you before, I had done sales in the past. It may not be on that resume. I don't believe it
Okay.
is, but I worked at Verizon Wireless when I was about
Okay.
like 21
Okay.
and somewhere in between. I was helping a family friend. They owned the store, so I was working there for a little and same thing, how to sell the phones and how to tell them, oh, this is the best and this is the newest and it works like this, and you give them a little sample, and I am very familiar with it, and I'm a very friendly, bubbly personality, so that I think it helps in
Yeah,
all
for sure.
aspects. So
Um,
I would be also comfortable in that, something like that were to open up for me as well.
in a sales position.
Yes.
So when you were working with Verizon, if someone like wasn't interested and they were like, nah, and they just maybe were a little bit colder about it and not interested in moving forward with you, like how do you overcome that type of obstacle?
Actually, I got this one a lot. So a lot of the clients that would come in were actually older people. So older people are hard to convince because they're like, hey, what do I need this new technology for? Right.
Okay.
So I'd have to actually convince a lot of them, like, this is actually easier to use. I'm like, back then it was just click the home button and everything went back. And they love that feature. They
Mhm.
love that they could click one button and it would just bring them right back to that front screen. So that was like my big sales pitch, like, oh, this is, easier to use, more compact. Someone can reach you. God forbid something happens. You need to, be able to reach your family. I was really genuinely speaking, I guess you could say, but at the same time selling.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's a method to it. Like I said, I dealt with a lot of older clients and they could be
Yeah.
a little stubborn. So,
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Communicate. I always say that like people buy from who they like.
yes.
So, if you are, likable, friendly, you're trying to relate with them, that's the first
It
part you can
happens.
check off the
Yeah.
list. What about like cold calling? Have you ever had to do any of that?
I don't like, what do you mean by cold calling
So
exactly?
cold calling, basically is just picking up the phone and like calling through a list,
Oh,
saying that you're selling a phone or you have a promotion or something like that.
I do that every day with patients. Like I said, I work in home health care, so I have to kind of sell to, hey, you need these services. Again, deal with older people, so I don't need those services. I'm fine. So I kind of like, maybe it would help if you just gave it, one visit. If the
Okay.
clinician comes and you absolutely don't like it, then we could just take her off. But I give them the opportunity to at least try it. Because a
Okay.
lot of
So
the
you
times
are
when someone,
selling in your
yes,
current
in
role.
a
Okay.
different way. Yeah, I guess you could say in a different way.
Okay, all right. About how many calls are you making like when you work? I know you're working part-time, but like do you work a
Yes.
full 8-hour day or
No, I work 4 hours a day, but I make quite a bit of calls a day.
okay. Are they like back to back?
Yeah. Sometimes, like you said, I have like a list. I'll have a list to call. They're called welcome calls or onboarding calls. And
Sure.
we kind of just get the patients familiarized with the services they'll be receiving. So I
Okay.
have to call them, let them know, like, hey, we have physical therapy, occupational therapy services listed from you from your doctor, and
Mhm.
we would like to get you seen with a clinician. When are you available? And
Okay.
sometimes they're like, oh, we don't need it. And I'm like, wait, give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on.
Show them the value, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's beneficial in the end. It really is.
Did they give you any type of sales training with your company now that you're at?
Nope, it's all just what I know and self-taught and personality, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the interview, but don't go anywhere. We got a few more things to talk about.
Okay, sounds good.